Hey knitting peeps, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Lisa, aka bopeepknits, if we haven't met before, and welcome to my hanni cardigan project vlog. In this video, I'll be sharing my knitting process from start to finish, so come along with me on the journey. Before we start the video though, please make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. So, the hanni cardigan. Now, it has been quite a while since I last knitted my first cardigan, which was the Maggie cardigan by bopeepknits. At that time, I was quite a beginner knitter. I still am, but I have learned quite a lot, I hope, since then. So I finally feel ready to take on my next cardigan, which will be the hanni cardigan by Knitters and Friends. And this project is going to be quite a meaningful and sentimental project to me, just because I am dedicating it to my late dog Kaya. If you don't know Kaya, she was a friend of the channel. She was a resident yarn inspector, one of my best friends, and she was actually one of the reasons why I started knitting. And so this is quite an important project to me. Because this project is dedicated to Kaya, I wanted to knit my hanni cardigan up using yarn that reminded me of the color of her fur. So we are going with the Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the color Camel, and this is, I think, a petite knit exclusive color. And then we will be holding this yarn with the Isager Silk Mohair in the color 63. These two colors together are actually the perfect color match to Kaya's fur, which is kind of a fawny brown sort of color. I really can't wait to cast on this cardigan. I truly mean it when I say that I can't wait to cast on this cardigan, because your girl already finished and blocked her gauge swatch. Your girl's ready to go, you know? But here is my swatch. Such a beautiful color, right? With these two yarns together. But my gauge swatch, actually we'll talk about the pattern swatch first. So the pattern gauge is 18 stitches by 27 rows on 4.5 millimeter needles. Now, your girl is a looser knitter, and so I'm never able to meet gauge, especially on the recommended needle size usually. So I had to size down quite a bit to 3.75 millimeter needles. And my gauge ended up being 19 stitches by 28 rows. So I'm like slightly off. I feel like it's good enough. I thought that maybe it could change a little bit once I blocked it, but my gauge remained the same even after blocking. Honestly, no surprises there that I am slightly off by a stitch, just because I never meet gauge, like ever. But you know what? It's good enough and nobody's perfect. So I am going to start on my back yoke of the hanni cardigan, and I will check back in a bit. I have great news. My back yoke on my hanni cardigan is finished, so I will show you what it looks like. It's a little bit curled up, but it is shaped like a trapezoid. This is the best way that I can show you. I don't know how other knitters do it. Like, their back panels are never curled up like this. So I didn't have any issues working my back yoke. All of my stitch counts were correct. And I think it's because I feel quite comfortable with German short rows now. And I am pretty familiar with this type of drop shoulder sort of back yoke construction. It is very reminiscent of the Olga sweater by Petite Knit. And so I think the process is almost exactly the same. So I had no issues whatsoever. This is my first Knitters and Friends pattern, and I would say that the writing style is very beginner friendly. It is not exactly the same as Petite Knit's writing style. Petite Knit is very detail oriented, I guess. She lays out literally every single step. She is very hand-holdy, as some people would describe her writing style. I would say that Knitters and Friends, they are not as hand-holdy, but it is still very easy to understand and very clear for beginners. One thing that I do want to mention with my hanni cardigan pattern so far is that I am already on my second skein of yarn, even though I'm on the back yoke. And so I'm a little bit concerned about not having enough yarn for this pattern. I bought a total of 8 skeins over the summer. And so I felt like that was going to be enough for this pattern, but now I'm a little bit anxious. If I do have to buy more yarn, there's a high chance that the dye lots will not match. So I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed that I don't have to do that. I will keep you guys posted on the yarn situation. But besides that, I'm feeling really good about my hanni cardigan so far. I didn't make any mistakes, which is really, really good. I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident in my knitting skills. But yeah, now I need to work on the right shoulder of the hanni cardigan. So I'll get started on that and I will check back in when I have more progress. Hey everybody, I'm not feeling the greatest this morning, but I still wanted to check in on my hanni cardigan. I made quite a lot of progress during the Super Bowl last night, so I wanted to show you what my cardigan is looking like at the moment. So this is my hanni cardigan. I don't know if you can kind of see everything. But I finished the right shoulder and I was working on the left shoulder last night. I'm almost done the left shoulder actually. I think I only have about a centimeter or so left to go. But speaking of the right shoulder, I had to rework it I think twice just because I decided to join the yarn that I use for my swatch, just because I was feeling a little bit anxious about not having enough yarn. So I wanted to be proactive with it. So this is where I joined the yarn that I use from my swatch, and it looks a little bit messy. It was looking pretty rough the first time that I joined the yarn. I managed to make it look a lot better this time around, but I don't know, it's just not, like, I can tell where I joined my yarn. I'm hoping that other people won't notice it, but it's noticeable to me, but it's not as bad as my first attempt. The next step for me is to join the front and the back panels of the cardigan together and continue working flat. So I'll be doing that after I finish my left shoulder. As for the yarn, this is what I have left in my third skein of the Sandnes Garn Double Sunday. I'm currently on my second skein of the Isager Silk Mohair. And so I am about to join my fourth skein of the Double Sunday. And I'm really hoping that I'll have enough. So after I join my fourth ball, I'll have 4 skeins left. And so just trying to think ahead here, I have 4 skeins of yarn and I'll need, let's say 2 for both of the sleeves. So I'll have 2 left to work the rest of the body and the neckband. And that will obviously include the ribbing. So I'm hoping that that will be enough yarn. But depending on how long I want the body of the cardigan to be, I might need an extra skein of the Double Sunday. So we will see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I won't have to buy more yarn for this project. But I am quite worried because I'm working through my yarn really, really quickly. And I don't remember speeding through my yarn usage with my last cardigan. So I don't know. I am really hoping that, you know, I don't have to buy more yarn. We will see. Stay tuned. Happy Lunar New Year! Chúc mừng năm mới in Vietnamese and Gong Hei Fa Choi, Sun Tai King Hong in Cantonese, if you celebrate at all. Although, by the time that you're watching this, Lunar New Year is long over, but whatever. Still putting out the good vibes out there. Because it is Lunar New Year at this point in time of filming, there are quite a few customs and traditions and superstitious things that people do during this moment in time. So for Lunar New Year, it's 3 days, and there are certain things that we can't and can't do for those people who celebrate. I'm not particularly a superstitious person. I'm a little stitious, if anything. But there are some things that have been so embedded in the culture, so many customs that have been done over such a long period of time that it would feel wrong not to follow them. One of these superstitious things that we can't do is that we cannot knit during Lunar New Year, the days before and after. And so my hanni cardigan is on vacation at the moment. I can't work on her, unfortunately, but I will at least show you where I'm at. I'm currently working away on the body portion, and of course, because there is a little bit of rolling and bunching up, it's kind of hard for me to show you what the hanni cardigan actually looks like. So for my size, which is a size 2, I have to knit until the back of my cardigan measures 54 centimeters, and that measures from the back, the nape of the neck here, all the way down. I'm currently at 44 centimeters, so I have 10 more to go. And I will assume that I will finish this body portion of the cardigan before my Asia trip. My plan is to knit on the plane, both on the way there and also on the way back home. But in terms of actual knitting during holiday, I don't know if I will actually get to knit for the whole entire time, because our itinerary for Tokyo is pretty packed. I can't imagine that I will have much time to knit while we're in Tokyo. When we're in Vietnam though, like Hanoi and Da Nang, our days are going to be much slower, especially while we're in Da Nang. So I can imagine that I'll have lots of knitting time there, just lying on the beach and relaxing. But yeah, so Da Nang, I'll definitely have some time to knit. But we are also hitting up China, various cities across the country. And so it is going to be quite busy while we're in China. So I don't know if I'll be able to knit very much while we're in China. Like, I'm sure there will be pockets of time where we're flying on the plane or we're on the train somewhere and I could knit during those small little pockets of time. But for the most part, I think in China, I probably won't get that much knitting done. So I don't know if I will bring my hanni cardigan. I might bring something smaller. Maybe I might start a new project. I don't know yet. I'm still debating. But maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I will wait until Lunar New Year is over. I'll continue working on the body of my hanni cardigan, and I will check back in when the body is finished. Hey everybody, please excuse the mess that is around me. I'm still packing for my Asia trip, but I wanted to check in on my hanni cardigan, which I will not be bringing on the Asia trip. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. So I'm going to show you my hanni cardigan now. I finished the body and the ribbing on the cardigan. It is a little bit rolled up, so of course it's not the best representation of what the cardigan is looking like, but here is the ribbing. So for my size, I was supposed to knit the back until it measures 54 centimeters. I stopped at 53 just because I am a little bit on the shorter side, and I thought that the 1 extra centimeter wasn't really needed. And I knitted the ribbing for 3 centimeters, which was what was indicated in the pattern. And I think that it is a very good length on my hanni cardigan. So now that I've finished working on the body, I have to work on the sleeves, and afterwards I'll need to do the button band and the neckband. And these steps are very similar to the Petite Knit Maggie cardigan, which was my first ever cardigan pattern. So I feel a little bit comfortable moving forward with the knitting process, and I'm very happy with my progress with the hanni cardigan so far. I think that I am very happy with how it's looking like at the moment. But because I am going away on my Asia trip for the month of March, I won't be able to bring this cardigan with me just because it is a little bit bigger of a project. So I'll be leaving my hanni cardigan at home, unfortunately. I'll miss her quite a lot, but I will be casting on a project for my Asia trip, which will be a much smaller project. So this will be my last hanni cardigan check-in before my Asia trip. So I will see you guys when I get back. It's been a month. I had the best time in Asia. You'll get to hear a little bit about it in my Tokyo yarn shopping video that will probably be out before this one. I'll make sure to link it in my description box as well as just somewhere on top here. But anyways, before leaving for the trip, I was working on the hanni cardigan, of course. But what I didn't show you was that I actually was able to finish one sleeve of the cardigan, which was super surprising. I somehow was able to knit it up in like a day or two right before the trip. And so I didn't get to show you guys, but I will show you the cardigan right now so that you can see where I'm at. So this is the cardigan on. I can't really see in the viewfinder if I'm in frame. Oh, I just bumped into my closet here, but this is the cardigan on, and it's a little bit rolled up so you can't really see, but I did finish the sleeve and I really like the length on me, and I feel like once I block it out a little bit, I'll just grow a little bit longer. So I'm really happy with how, I was able to finish that one sleeve. I will obviously now have to work on the second sleeve here, as well as the neckband and the button band on the cardigan. So let's talk about the yarn situation. Now my hanni cardigan pattern, it has been eating up the double Sunday yarn that I've been using. Not so much the Mohair yarn from Isager, but for whatever reason, I've been using so much more yarn than I had anticipated. I originally bought 9 skeins of the double Sunday Sandnes Garn yarn in the color Camel. After working on this sleeve here, ended up with only 1 skein of that yarn left. So obviously I wouldn't be able to finish the hanni cardigan because I need more yarn than just that 1 skein. So unfortunately I had to buy more yarn. So I ended up placing an order for 4 additional skeins of that double Sunday yarn. It was going to be a different dye lot, and I was a little bit worried that the colors wouldn't match. Thankfully, the colors look similar enough, I think. So I don't think that I will run into any issues of it not blending, the colors not blending seamlessly. But my plan is that I will use the new yarn that I got for this sleeve here. And I think the Mohair will actually help the color blend a little bit more seamlessly with the rest of the cardigan. And, you know, if not, this one sleeve will just look a little bit off and maybe it won't be too noticeable, hopefully. But yeah, just to be on the safe side, I will work on the second sleeve with the new yarn. And for any other yarn that I will have, I'll just work on the neckband and the button band with either the old yarn or the new yarn and just hope for the best. So that's my hanni cardigan update for now. I am quite happy with how my sleeve turned out. I'm happy with the length of the sleeve, the body, and as mentioned, I still have the sleeve and the neckband and button band to work on. And so I will work away on that and check back in when I have some progress to share. I'm hoping that I will be able to finish my hanni cardigan by the end of the month, maybe early May. Fingers crossed. We'll just have to see if I can make that happen. So I finished the second sleeve not too long after my last update, but I didn't get a chance to show you until now. This is my second sleeve here on my hanni cardigan, and as I mentioned in my last update, I ran out of yarn, so I had to use a yarn from a different dye lot for my second sleeve. And I don't know if you can kind of tell, but I don't think that there is a significant really difference in the two dye lots here. And I think the Mohair really helps with that. I am currently working on the button band at the moment. So this is what it is looking like right now. I am about halfway through the left side of my cardigan. So, I don't know if this is the best way to show you guys, but that is, that's where I'm at right now. I did have a little bit of difficulty working on the button band at first because in the pattern, you're supposed to do an Italian cast on after picking up the stitches here to add additional stitches to form the button band. And so I've never done an Italian cast on before, so I had to learn for this pattern. And I don't know what was happening, but like when I was working the Italian cast on and knitting the stitches here, it just looked a little bit wonky. Like it didn't look as neat as it looks right now, especially this top part here. So I don't really know what happened, but it took me a couple of tries to, you know, figure out the whole Italian cast on thing. And then, I don't know, it just looked a little bit wonky. Maybe I like accidentally like twisted my stitches or something, not sure. But eventually I just kind of got tired of it looking really ugly. So I just unraveled it and I did a regular long tail cast on, a cast on method that I love and adore truly. So I don't know, it worked out a lot better for me. Like the button band looks a lot neater, a lot more straight, a lot straighter. For now, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's very neat, you know, and there's like some structural integrity up on top here. but I will check in to see if I, if I made the wrong decision by deviating from the pattern. So I feel like this button band is taking forever just because I am working the button band on a smaller needle size, the 3mm, and I'm also knitting back and forth on a very short distance here. So it's just really hard on the hands. I have to take more breaks, and I don't know, it's just taking me a lot longer than I had anticipated. The button band construction is very different from how the Maggie cardigan button band construction was. In that pattern, all I had to do was just pick up the stitches and just knit. Like, I didn't have to add additional stitches here. And so it's just taking a lot more time. This cardigan is going to take however long it takes. I'm trying to be patient, but I just really want to finish this cardigan so I can start knitting other things. I have some exciting projects planned, so, just trying to get this done. And I'm just excited to have, this lovely cardigan in my collection. So I will check in when I have an update. So my button band is now finished, and this is what it's looking like. Not too bad, I would say, for my button band here. I did have to use yarn from a different dye lot just because that was the first skein that I grabbed. And it turns out that you can't really tell at all where I started the different dye lot. And so I think moving forward, I'm totally okay with mixing the two different dye lots because you honestly can't really tell at all the difference between the dye lots. So I feel like I got really, really lucky with the yarn colors matching, even if they were from two different dye lots. So I'm working on the right button band at the moment. And on the right side, you start knitting from the hem up. For the left band, you work from the neck band down. So I kind of liked that process a lot more, but I am just not the biggest fan of working bottom up. I started the right button band using the Italian cast on method that was indicated in the pattern. I didn't do it for the left side just because it was looking really, really messy. So I just used like a regular long tail cast on, and I feel like it just looks a lot neater, a lot more straight, a lot straighter. But for this side, I ended up casting on using the Italian cast on method, and it just looks so messy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It just looks so bad. Like, I know that there's a little bit of stretch or more stretch compared to the long tail cast on, but I feel like it just looks so bad. So I might just have to like frog it and restart if it's like really bothering me. I started working on the right button band a couple of days ago, and I didn't really make that much progress at all, just because I am at the point in the pattern now where I'm supposed to create my first buttonhole. And this section of the pattern is a little bit intimidating for me. I know I've knitted a cardigan before, but the Maggie cardigan buttonhole instructions are different from the Henny cardigan. And so from what I understand, you're supposed to do your regular double knitting instructions, and that's what I did up until the stitch marker. And each stitch marker indicates where you will make the buttonholes. So I've done that, but I'm at the first buttonhole point now, and I'm supposed to create the holes. And in order to do that, there's two separate instructions that you're supposed to follow to create the buttonhole. And as I'm reading this part in the pattern, I'm just having like some trouble visualizing how this is all going to come together, how it's going to look. And so I didn't move forward like in the pattern to actually like knit and create that buttonhole. So hopefully there will be some time this weekend for me to actually work on this buttonhole, and I will see how I feel. about it, and I'll check in when I make some more progress on this button band. My hanni cardigan is finally off the needles, but let's backtrack a little bit since I haven't had a chance to update you guys. So I was a little bit worried in my last update about creating the button band on the right side just because I had to create these buttonholes, and I was a little bit confused as to how it was going to look. The instructions were different from when I worked on my very first cardigan, the Maggie cardigan by bopeepknits, and so for that pattern the buttonholes turned out to be like a circular shape, but for these ones, as you can see here, the buttonholes are actually vertical, and for this top one here it's horizontal. And so I am pretty pleased with how it turned out. I didn't have to worry at all, to be honest. The instructions were very clear. I just had to put my faith in the pattern. But once I kind of got over that, it was actually quite a smooth process to create the buttonholes. So after working on the right button band, I had to pick up the stitches along the neckline to create this ribbing for the neckband here, as well as create this vertical buttonhole. I have to say that the only modification that I made to this portion of the pattern was that instead of using a backwards cast on to create the stitches for the buttonhole, I instead used a knitted cast on, and I found that that was much easier to work with. The stitches didn't look as messy, and there was a little bit more sturdiness and integrity to the stitches. So I found that to be a little bit easier to work with. But in terms of doing like the actual cast on, I would say that backwards cast on is definitely a little bit easier to do than a knitted cast on. So this whole entire process of knitting the button band and knitting the neckband, it was such a long process, and I was working on 3mm needles throughout this whole time. So it was quite hard on the hands and the wrists especially, and so I had to take some breaks. So now all I have to do is block the cardigan and sew on the buttons on the left button band, and then we will see how the cardigan will look. My hanni cardigan is finally done blocking. I sewed on the buttons yesterday. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too hot to wear my hanni cardigan to work today, so hopefully I'll get a chance to rock it tomorrow or the day after. But I wanted to share my final thoughts on the hanni cardigan. And so as a beginner, I would say that knitting the hanni cardigan pattern wasn't too difficult, especially because I have knitted a cardigan before. But if you are a true beginner and this is your first cardigan pattern, I would say it's totally doable. I'm really happy with the fit of my hanni cardigan. It didn't turn out too oversized. I will say though that the sleeves grew a little bit more since blocking, and so they are a tiny bit longer than I had expected. I think before blocking, the sleeves were absolutely at a perfect length for me, but I still am in love with my hanni cardigan. I used in total 10.5 skeins of the Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the color Camel. And so I have 2.5 skeins left of this yarn, and for the Isager Silk Mohair, I used exactly 5 skeins of this yarn. I really liked working with this yarn combo. I think it just created such a beautiful and luxurious fabric. I really did not want to admit it, but the Isager Silk Mohair is probably the best mohair that there is on this market. I haven't tried all of the mohairs yet, and maybe I will still give other brands a chance, but I really don't know if any other brand can top Isager, unfortunately. So this project definitely was more on the expensive side. It's not my most expensive knit to date, but I think the total cost in Canadian dollars is $239. That's including the pattern and the 2 yarns. Honestly, when I was calculating the cost, I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw the total. I think it's worth it still because of the Isager silk mohair. It just creates just such a nice fabric. It drapes over the body so nicely, and it's not too hot, surprisingly enough. So the hanni cardigan was a sentimental knit for me. I was dedicating this cardigan to my late dog Kaya. So in that sense, this cardigan is totally worth it. But let's just say that we are not going to be spending this amount of money again anytime soon. But overall, I really enjoyed knitting the hanni cardigan. I really liked how Knitters and Friends wrote their pattern. They did an amazing job, and I really look forward to knitting more of their patterns in the future. Thank you so much for watching my hanni cardigan project vlog until the end. It truly means a lot to me. I hope that you had a lot of fun following along on my knitting process. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you are up to date on all of my bopeepknits videos. And until we see each other next, happy knitting! Bye!